Now, I'm sure you're wondering, we're already in Module 5 of 8, and it seems like we're still talking about prevention. But remember, if you build up your class into a fortress of awesomeness, most of the behavior problems will disappear. If the biggest consequence of being sent out is that the student was upset to miss whatever's going on in class, you've made it. The best reward should be that a student gets to be in your class. You need your classroom to beat the hallway. So now I'm going to loop back for a minute to something that we discussed earlier. With younger students, you'll be keeping track of the doing great points and the refocus points. Assign a ticket man or lady to hand out the tickets for you in class. I suggest keeping track of those that you choose because you better bet that the students are all keeping track. And they'll take it very personally if you choose someone twice and they were never chosen or whatever. Decide how many points add up to a raffle. I did 20 points equals one raffle. Any student who had to get the mark in the grade book, any student who was warned is disqualified from winning the raffle. So now that you have the raffle all ready, let's discuss the prize. You're going to want to create a grand game that the class plays together. Hang the board game up on the bulletin. I always loved creating the games myself, and I made games such as Chutes and Ladders, Battleship, Chess, Bingo, Sorry, Candyland, Connect 4, Checkers, whatever could be made on a poster and put up on a wall. For the pieces, I used laminated cardstock with thumbtacks so that you could move the pieces around. Dice are also a great way to spin for turns in a classroom. If you teach multiple classes, these classes can be the teams. If you just teach one class, divide the students into rows for teams. I've seen a lot of students, girls in particular, get upset with any kind of competition. But this is exactly the right way to learn how to compete nicely. Students should be taught how to react if they win or lose. It's a great learning experience. So what happens when one team wins? They get a reward. If it's the whole class that's one team, you can do a reward like this. Students get to do an activity of their choice, like doing a project together. I always like to teach students how to build houses or cars out of paper because it was always easy to make photocopies in school. I'm gonna put a link in the show notes so you can check out this really great website that I used. I also liked having soft music playing in the background during the free period, and students were allowed only for that time to bring a snack in to eat during the event. If I had split up the team from one class into rows, only a few kids won, and they were permitted to do the project and eat quietly at their desks while everyone else did some other activity. I suggest having internal competitions between the individual classes because if you do it on a grand scale with different classes that already have certain reputations, it's probably going to end up pretty status quo. The classes that always win will win, and the classes that behave poorly will just stay the same. I recommend that the teachers switch from groups of rows to groups of columns when switching up to a new game. That way, no one group of students gets a reputation, and they might be able to join a stronger team next time. The first time that I did the award, I kept it a secret. No reason to give away your secret sauce too soon. Try to see if you could ramp up the excitement for the second and third time the students win by doing a larger project or something different. And it goes without saying that you should not make it too easy to win. And a note here for older students. Like everything else, the reward for good behavior could be more subtle, but it should clearly be based on cause and effect. Privileges could progressively be granted, such as writing in pen instead of pencil, just signing in and out when going to the bathroom instead of needing to ask individual permission, that kind of thing. It should be obvious that the class behavior creates the atmosphere. If you need to take the privilege away, it's not a punishment. Rather, it's simply a natural progression, or actually more like a regression. Another point to remember throughout the year is to incorporate student interests. If students told you on that sheet at the beginning of the year about how they like watching videos, then show them a video about what they're learning about. Or if they like crafts, have them make a pop-up book about a story that they just read or a concept they just learned about. They could even show their pop-up books to younger students. But having great lessons is one thing. Here's the cool part. When you pull out your video or you introduce your project, casually mention that you're doing this activity because so-and-so told you at the beginning of the year that they liked this. Super subtle way to show that you are the best teacher ever. An important way to keep students on track is to ensure that they always have what to do. A lack of adequate work is an invitation for trouble. I thought of an exciting way to give extra work to students so they don't feel like they're being rewarded for doing their work by being given more work. I have something called orange packets, and I just photocopied it in orange. Totally fun sheets. Ideas included crossword puzzles, adult coloring pages, Sudokus. For every 10 pages, students can trade them in for rewards such as turn to play a game, getting extra points for the class, or earning extra tickets for themselves. You can put together a list of privileges that the students would appreciate, but don't make you go broke. This way, there's a double incentive for the students to occupy themselves. The after work is fun, and they get an extra reward for doing the after work.